In a new interview with Total Film magazine, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes director Wes Ball has shared some small but exciting updates about what we can expect from the tone, music, and overall approach for the movie. If you like what I do here and want to show your support, be sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things Apes. Enjoy the video. And welcome back to Ape Nation once again, your number one source for all things Planet of the Apes on YouTube. My name is Josh, and today we are talking about a new interview that just dropped in the latest issue of Total Film magazine, in which Wes Ball, director of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, has shared a handful of fun new details about the film. Just jumping right into things, I'm going to read the article all the way through and then break down everything that he said, as well as my thoughts on it all. And just as a heads up, even though it is a 7-year-old movie at this point, there is a big spoiler at the beginning of this article for War for the Planet of the Apes, so if for whatever reason you haven't seen the first 3 movies or haven't seen War for the Planet of the Apes yet, just skip ahead to the next part of the video. Humanity's de-evolution, Caesar's death, his son Cornelius continuing his legacy. It's a satisfying place to pause. Our minds can fill in the gap between the Planet of the Apes prequel saga's conclusion and where the story picks up in the original 1968 film set 2,000 odd years in the future. And yet, here comes Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, starting a likely new trilogy. Set 300-ish years after war, it follows young ape Noah living under the rule of tyrannical leader Proximus Caesar, an evolved bonobo who has rejected Caesar's credo and is enslaving apes as he searches for lost human tech. A journey of discovery begins for Noah when the chimpanzee meets May, a young feral human. All these trilogies tend to wane a little bit by the end, says director Wes Ball, known for the dystopian Maze Runner films. He had to ask himself, why make a new movie? There's something uninteresting about just following the adventures of Caesar's son. The fact that we get to time jump and start with new characters, a new story, and have a new perspective on things opens up a host of new ideas. Ball's aim? To balance the tone of the existing trilogy with turning a new page. The music is designed to pull everything together. Ball asked composer John Paesano to take one part Jerry Goldsmith, who scored the original 1968 Apes, and one part Dawn and War's Michael Giacchino. The rest is yours, he told him. These movies are bigger than any director and any actor, says Ball. There is a huge, long legacy. We're trying to make sure that we're staying not just faithful to, but respectful of what's come before us. Aesthetically, Kingdom stands apart. We're definitely our own thing, says the director. Camera-wise, also lighting for the environment itself, is very different from the Vancouver look that the other movies were shot in. Ball was tasked with bringing a new audience to the historically male-skewed audience. He's tried hard to appease existing fans, but also asked himself if he can make a movie you could take your kids to. Apocalypto with apes, as he initially pitched it, seems like a tough call for a family audience, but he stresses that Kingdom is fun. We tried to find that tone, that sweet spot, where we can open this franchise up to people who haven't seen these movies before. Taking the reins of major acclaimed series like Planet of the Apes, however, is daunting. When I was first asked about doing this, I wasn't jumping at the chance, admits Ball, intimidated to follow in the footsteps of Rise director Rupert Wyatt and Dawn and Warhammer Matt Reeves. It's been a steep learning curve. I feel like just now that I'm entering the last stretch, I've finally figured out how to make these movies.
What a wonderful day!
So, as you can all see, some of this isn't exactly major or hugely new information, but there are definitely a few things that I took away from it and found really exciting and cool that I want to get into. So the first thing I want to talk about is Proximus Caesar. This isn't anything major. We've kind of seen this already in the trailer, but it hasn't really been officially made clear. We have finally gotten official word that Proximus Caesar, who is the villain in the movie played by Kevin Durand, is enslaving apes, which is something I don't think I've covered at this point, and I don't think it's really that much of a surprise, but it is really cool to hear. It does just add to the craziness and menace of this character that a lot of us are very excited to see and learn more about. So I think that's just adding to the craziness of this character, the menace and the evilness of this guy. So I'm always excited to learn and see more about Proximus Caesar. He is probably the thing I'm most excited about going into this movie so far. This is just a little tidbit that continues to hype up my excitement for him. Don't know why exactly he's enslaving apes, but as with all of this, we will probably find out more when we actually see the movie. As for some of the other stuff that Wes Ball talked about, one of the things that stood out to me was the new aesthetic, which is going to differentiate itself from the first three movies. It wasn't shot in Vancouver like the other three movies. I think at least the second two. I don't know if the first one was, but I know the second two were. This movie was actually filmed in Sydney, Australia, which, just judging from the trailer, we can already see that it is a much different looking film. Obviously, the time period that it's set in, obviously the evolution of the apes at this point in the timeline, all these different things are going to contribute to that. And then the thing that stood out to me the most, and probably the thing that I found the most exciting, is Wes Ball talking about the music. So for those who don't know, the music in this film is going to be done by composer John Paesano. And for those who aren't familiar with John Paesano, he is a decently well-known composer. He's been in the industry for a long time. I'm not hugely familiar with his work, but I did like his music in the Maze Runner trilogy, and I really loved his music in both the Netflix Daredevil series and the Spider-Man PS4 games. I think his work in both of those really boosted a lot of the emotional moments of those games and of that series, and so I think he's done some really great work, and I'm excited to hear what he brings to the table. Hearing that Wes Ball wanted him to combine some Jerry Goldsmith score with some of Michael Giacchino's music, and I love both of those. And when I get to my Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes reviews in just a few weeks, I'm going to be talking a lot about Michael Giacchino, because his music in those two movies is some of the best that I think that we've gotten out of blockbuster film music in the last decade, and I think he did a really great job, and his music and his themes in those movies are incredible. I think they're very underrated as well, so I'm excited to hear that not only is Wes Ball very appreciative of what Giacchino did, but he wants to take elements of it and mix it with some of what Jerry Goldsmith did in 1968, and as well as bringing John Paesano's own voice to the table. I think blending those three is exactly the kind of score we need to keep things feeling like it's in the same world, like it's following the Caesar legacy, but it's also forging its own new path and doing its own thing and being fresh and bringing something new to the table. So that got me really excited. Like I've said many times, I'm a huge musical score guy, so anytime we get tidbits about music, my ears perk up. So I'm obviously very excited to hear this. And then as for the tone of the film, and this is probably the biggest takeaway from this whole article, is the tone that they're going for and why they're going that way, the audience that they're approaching, the fact that they're trying to bring in a bigger and younger audience. So this is something that I feel like maybe some fans might read this and maybe be a little, I don't know, rubbed the wrong way, for lack of a better term. And maybe not, maybe I'm just projecting, maybe I'm assuming things, but I think sometimes when people hear, oh, they're trying to bring in a new audience, oh, they're aiming for a wider demographic, that means it's going to go away from what we love about the series. And I don't think that at all. I think there's multiple examples over the last several decades of franchise films or reboots or sequels that have tried something different or tried to expand and bring in a wider audience and done it very successfully while still retaining the roots of the original source material. And I think that's probably what we'll get here. I think we're going to get a movie that is balancing that darkness, that intensity, that maturity the first three Caesar movies brought to the table. I think those movies were very dark, especially War for the Planet of the Apes, which is probably one of the darkest and bleakest franchise movies I've ever seen. So I think going from that to something lighter is very fitting. I don't think continuing that trend would really make a lot of sense. I think bringing in that fresh perspective, aiming for that wider demographic, and maybe trying to bring people in that are a little younger, because I think maybe if I had to just put a number on it, I'd say the general age range for people that those first three movies were aimed at, I would say are probably between the ages of like maybe 15, 16 and older. I think maybe aiming for a little younger, maybe 12, 11. I think it's okay to want to include maybe some people that are a little bit younger in on the fun, and it could be a great opportunity to bring them into the franchise and get more people into this fan base and get more people excited about these movies. And I think that's always a great thing. So I'm very excited to hear that. I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great approach. I'm really happy that they're going that direction. Obviously, you could fall into traps of maybe things feeling a little too kiddie or things feeling a little too silly at times, but I trust Wes Ball, I trust Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, and it sounds like everyone is coming at it with the best of intentions and trying to make the best movie possible that can make a lot of people happy, both new and old fans and non-fans alike. So I think this is a really good way to approach this film. And my only assumption is, like a lot of films that start with this kind of more adventurous, a bit of light, a bit of dark tone, we will probably see maybe the second or third film get a bit darker and more mature as they go along, as Noah continues his journey through this story. So I'm not worried about it being too kidified or anything like that. I'm not worried about it straying too far from the roots of what the franchise has always been about. And so overall, I think everything that we've heard here in this interview, all the new little tidbits of information about the music and the tone and the aesthetic and Proximus Caesar. Some fun stuff and some exciting stuff to sink your teeth into and to get you a little more excited for the movie. I'm getting more and more excited by the day for this movie. Every time we get a new piece of information, every time we get a new picture, every time we get a new trailer, I'm getting more and more excited for when we get to finally see this movie on May 10th. But until then, that is all I have for you today. Let me know your thoughts on all of these new little tidbits of information about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes in the comments down below. What do you think about John Paesano's musical approach? What do you think about the tone? What do you think about Proximus Caesar enslaving apes? Well, let me know your thoughts about all of these and more down below. Thank you so much for checking out today's video here on Ape Nation. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things apes. I'll catch you in the next one, so until then, goodbye.